I'm Debbie Taylor. I own Revival Home Furnishings at 80th and Santa Fe. It's our third location. We've been in business for 15 years in Overland Park. This is my own store. I built it from the ground up after renting in 2 other locations. And I chose to invest virtually my life savings in this building in order to have a lasting home for my business. I had to move from my former location due to big development and big developers, big money. So I built this one, and much to my surprise, I had to leave my former location, was expecting to move into this location in December. Unfortunately, the city of Overland Park had other ideas and kept my construction tied up for an additional 5 months, from the 1st of December until May the 9th. I was completely shut down, which is extremely devastating to a retail business. And I kept pursuing, thinking this can't be true. All of the inspections had passed previously. I had architects and engineers and everything on this building, yet the city kept saying that I had life safety issues in this building, which is frightening sounding. That's just very intimidating. And when I inquired what those were, I was told that I was not a professional and didn't understand those issues. And I said, no, I'm not, but I will find professionals to tell me what they are. And literally, when I went to seek help from other people, the life safety issue propaganda was issued, and people just were hands off. They would not help me because that sounds so ominous. However, I did hire a fire. The chief issue was a fire safety issue. So I hired a nationally renowned fire safety engineer who does inspections all over the country. He came in and did the whole codes inspection of my building, said this was a perfectly safe building, did the whole codes number, and said, I'll go talk to the city on your behalf. Fine. He went and talked to them, and they turned him down. And incidentally, this particular engineer that I hired has gone against the city over 90 times on similar issues and only lost 2 issues. So, you know, they're very aggressive when it comes to using that particular code. But he was rejected by the city, built it purposely to blend in with the historic downtown area so that it looked like it existed already. It's built from Kansas native limestone and really superior building practices than most buildings that are going up in today's world. I mean, it's solid. It's rock all the way around. I have a fire suppression system in here that they tell me exceeds what is in the public schools. So the long shot of it was with this particular conversation, the engineer who inspected said I could go to arbitration, but that would mean my business couldn't open for another 5 months. So I had to bite the bullet and do what they said, which cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in cost overruns, but just to get my store open so that I could survive and not be extended another 5 months out of business, I did that. Once I completed those tasks, they kept finding more and more and more and more issues, one after the other after the other. And it became very frustrating. I did have press that wanted to do stories on my situation, and at the time I said, no, I don't want to anger the city further. But finally I had just had it. So I agreed to do a story on TV regarding my situation. When the TV station called the city for their input, I was immediately issued my permit to open. But as of today's date, I still do not have permitted occupancy here. I only have partial occupancy. And part of the reason is financing was an issue. I've had to put a lot of the second story construction on hold There are 2 apartments on the 2nd story of my building, which is a city requirement that properties be multi-use in this district, which I agreed to initially, not knowing I was going to have other cost overruns. So I'm still in a hold pattern. As a result of all of these issues, I became so aware of so many unethical, I think, practices in the city. If you're a big developer, they look the other way and let a lot of issues go undetected. But with an individual investor who's invested their own money, I think that they just think they can bully you, which is exactly the way I felt that I was being treated. As a result of all of that, I became so enmeshed in city government. I met with everyone in the city repeatedly, got no answers, and I'm now running for city council simply because I think someone with straightforward ethics needs to be in the government, and someone who truly supports small business and doesn't just give it lip sync support needs to help other small businesses. Otherwise, we're all going to be one giant Walmart economy.
That's true.
So that's a long story, but that's it is in as much of a nutshell as it is.
How far? I'm curious. How you say they were all these roadblocks were put up, which just the ones you've outlined just sound egregious. But how far into the process of building this building that you bought the property for and you're building it yourself, did you see that you were getting more pushback than you thought was legitimate?
That's just it. There were no problems for the first, I would say, 18 months of construction. Everything went as planned, and then suddenly the tables turned. And I could not understand why. We were still proceeding according to approved architectural plans, and I would have to say that the major one was covering the wood beams was the major one that I said, wait a minute, this has been on the plans from day one. You guys have inspected and approved these beams time after time throughout the course of 18 months of construction. And now suddenly I'm ready to move in and it becomes a life safety issue. This is fire-treated wood. It is not a fire issue. I simply do not know to this day why the tide turned. Putting sprinkler systems in the entry airlock, which is a non-locking door. No one can get stuck in there in the case of a fire. I had double metal fire doors that I was required to take the emergency exit sign down when it was clearly an emergency exit sign. Just very strange little things, but they mounted up to monumental, and it was a holding process. Every one of those little inspection processes postponed the opening of the store another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. I have people actually interested in renting them now. It's just a matter of financing and getting them finished. Because my business was shut down for 5 months, my bank financing was put on hold. I wasn't able to open. Therefore, I have to get the financing reinstated once I got open and started showing a positive balance sheet. So it's just been another stall. No, there are 4 other people running for city council against existing council members. I think it's very, very important that who is in existence be replaced. There's a block that is formed in the city and then it needs to be broken up. If they are currently in office, vote against them. I can't say that any more strongly. It's Debbie Taylor. You can contact me at my retail business, which is Revival Home Furnishings. Email is revivalhf@sbcglobal.net or Revival Home Furnishings on Facebook. Thank you.